The main protagonist, Nozue, leads a mundane life. He is 39 years old and lives alone. He follows the same routine every day, and although he was once content with it, he now feels a growing sense of dissatisfaction. One day at work, he helps a fellow employee with a late shipment. Instead of scolding the employee, as expected, Nozue encourages him to rely on him for support. The second main character, Togawa, informs Nozue that the department head, Kirishima, wants to speak with him. Although Nozue already knows what this meeting is about, he dismisses it. However, Togawa encourages him to attend. As he leaves the room, a group of employees admires him. They also mention that another employee, Kanda, has been following him around. Togawa finds this irksome and urges them to get back to work. During his meeting with Kirishima, she offers him the position of department head. Despite being offered a promotion, he declines, feeling that there is no point in progressing further. As a result, she gives him half a day to consider the offer. Outside, Togawa catches Nozue smoking. Nozue prompts Togawa to spray him down with perfume, which Togawa does generously. Togawa inquires about the meeting with Kirishima, but Nozue only mentions the after-work dinner. Nozue comments that he is not as young as he used to be, but Togawa disagrees, believing that 39 isn't old. Nozue explains that he no longer cares about the work competition as it no longer appeals to him. They take their break together, and Togawa suggests ways to help with Nozue's nicotine addiction, but Nozue ignores him. Nozue watches two young girls taking pictures of themselves, and Nozue wonders out loud how fun it must be to be girls. He takes out his outdated flip phone and takes a picture of Togawa. While on break with Togawa, Nozue is reminded that half a day has passed, and he calls Kirishima. He declines her offer before she can try to persuade him otherwise. He claims that his outdated phone has signal problems and hangs up. Before heading back to work, Togawa unexpectedly takes him to a diner to have pancakes. It is Nozue's first experience eating a pancake, and he learns that he can still have new experiences at his age. They head to a restaurant mainly occupied by women. Nozue initially feels uneasy being in a restaurant full of women, but Togawa reassures him and encourages him to play along with their game of pretending to be girls. Togawa then asks Nozue if he likes someone, assuring him that it's just girl talk. Nozue responds by lamenting that he is almost 40 and that it's too late for love. Togawa reveals that he understands what Nozue is afraid of, being almost 40 and having dedicated his life to work, but feeling unsure of what to do next. Nozue feels that people are expected to have figured out what they want to do by this age. Nozue is surprised and asks if it was that obvious, but Togawa assures him that he only knows because he enjoys working for him. Togawa mentions that is menopause and suggests that Nozue should start thinking of a counter before it gets worse. At the diner, Nozue learns he can still have new experiences at his age, while Togawa shares that he has respected him ever since he encouraged him to be positive during his job interview. After some time passes, they are about to go to a place where smoking is allowed, but Nozue declines and suggests going somewhere else. Togawa congratulates him on trying to quit smoking, but Nozue clarifies that he's just cutting down, but it does not deter Togawa's happiness. The next day Togawa gets ready for work and admires a picture of Nozue. Nozue is hungover at work when Togawa offers him his schedule for the day. He mentions that Ishida, an employee from a different department, wants to meet with Nozue, but Togawa offers to go in his place. Nozue wonders why Togawa is offering this and shares that Ishida has been showing him some unwanted attention. Togawa admits that he's noticed it too and sympathizes with Nozue, but says that crushing on the popular guy is tough. Nozue appreciates Togawa's understanding, but ultimately decides to face Ishida on his own. Togawa is disheartened by this. Later, Togawa orders a smoothie for Nozue instead of his usual hot coffee. Togawa explains to Nozue how new experiences are more important as one gets older and getting stuck in a daily routine can cause dementia. The conversation then turns to the fact that Togawa doesn't have a girlfriend. Togawa suggests they go out for parfaits the next day to try new things and have fun. The next day, they go for dessert together. They discuss their age difference, and Togawa asks Nozue not to act like his boss during their weekend hangout. When they arrive at their location, some girls catch Togawa's attention, but he is oblivious to this. Nozue notices them, though. The following week they go to new places to eat. At work, Nozue is wearing a new suit, and his coworkers notice and comment on it. Meanwhile, Togawa searches for a place for them to have lunch together under the assumption that they would have lunch together as usual. But Nozue invites two female co-workers to join him for lunch, and Togawa becomes jealous. One of the employees comments on how scary Togawa looks as he loudly flips through his file. Upset that Nozue is not having lunch with him, Togawa leaves. On the way back to work after lunch, Nozue is surrounded by a harem of 6 female co-workers while Togawa watches from afar. Later, Togawa confronts Nozue and mentions that the entire floor knows about his lunch with the female co-workers. Nozue, still oblivious to Togawa's jealousy, explains that he wanted to find popular restaurants and places to go so he could take Togawa out, feeling bad that Togawa was always the one searching for places. Togawa, now understanding the situation, is stunned. Nozue, thinking that they are done pretending, doesn't get a reply, but Togawa quickly mentions that Nozue can pick the next place they eat. Sometime later, Nozue is having trouble with his new smartphone while trying to take a picture of his dessert. Togawa takes pictures of him, as young girls do, but Nozue mentions that he's lost interest in it lately as he's realized he doesn't have to be young to have fun. Togawa playfully asks if there's a reward for his help in Nozue's anti-aging efforts, and Nozue suggests physical labor, offering to help Togawa with housework as he's better at that. After work, they go to Togawa's place. Before Nozue can enter, Togawa cleans up the place. Nozue cooks dinner for them, and while they eat, he reveals that he knew Togawa cleaned up for him but hid all the mess. They talk some more, like girls would, then like boys. The next day, Nozue has a cold. Togawa asks about lunch, but Nozue says he has plans with the department head, Kirishima. Throughout the day, Togawa feels as if Nozue is ignoring him. Other employees invite Nozue to an after-work dinner, which he accepts. Later in the day, some employees invite Togawa to an after-work dinner, but he declines. As a result, they invite Nozue instead, and he accepts. At the dinner, Togawa shows up and asks about Nozue, but is told that Nozue left earlier. Togawa rushes off to find Nozue. He finds him at a bus stop and offers to escort him home. At Nozue's place, he suggests to Togawa that he should stay the night, but Togawa explains that he cannot stay over as he has not brought any spare clothes with him. Togawa confronts Nozue about avoiding him, and Nozue reveals that it was because of how close they were getting. Togawa reassures Nozue that it is not weird and that he thinks of Nozue as more than just a boss to him. Togawa suggests that they continue their anti-aging routine on the upcoming weekend. However, Nozue becomes upset with Togawa when he mistakenly thinks that Togawa had ignored his message from the day before. Togawa clarifies that he had replied but there was a mix-up, and Nozue feels relieved. Togawa then tucks Nozue into bed and leaves. Later on, Togawa returns to Nozue's place and kisses the sleeping Nozue. The next day at work, Kirishima sets up a group blind date for Nozue, Togawa, and other employees. She explains that someone wants to meet Togawa. Nozue does not want to go and insists that Kirishima not take Togawa along as well. He gets irritated when she insists Togawa go to the blind date. Togawa finally speaks up, saying that he will decide later. Later Nozue decides that he will go too. At the group blind date, Togawa becomes irritated as he watches a girl talk to Nozue, while Nozue also grows irritated as he watches another girl talk to Togawa. Togawa ends up getting drunk and Nozue takes him home. The next morning, Togawa wakes up shirtless and discovers that Nozue stayed over. He wonders if anything happened between them, but Nozue seems oblivious. They start talking about Togawa's fit body, and Togawa offers to help Nozue exercise. During their conversation, Togawa expresses how much he admires and respects Nozue, but before Nozue can respond, he abruptly makes some excuses to leave. However, before he can go, Togawa kisses him and reveals that he had been trying to seduce Nozue, who had been unaware of his advances. Things are tense between the two at work. Some days pass, and Nozue, Togawa, and other employees have an after-work dinner. During the dinner, Togawa overhears a rumor that Nozue will be transferred to a different department. Nozue becomes a little drunk from the alcohol. Togawa offers to take him home and insists on taking the train. Before Nozue heads to the train station, he rushes back to Togawa and confesses that he wants to be with him too. Togawa initially thinks that Nozue is only saying this out of pity, but Nozue assures him that this is not the case. They then admit that they have feelings for each other. A few days pass and Nozue has already been transferred to a different department, while Togawa remains in his current one. However, they continue to have lunch together as usual.